We must also restructure the relationship between the state and local government and cut some of the strings and band-aids. Like for instance, right now, we are cutting billions and billions of dollars from education. Luckily, in February, we freed up some of the categoricals, $6 billion worth of those categoricals, to give schools more flexibility in how to spend their money. But that is not enough. Current law ties the hands of our schools with strict rules that tells the schools who are they allowed to hire, who should be mowing the lawn, who is allowed to do the roofing, who is allowed to fix the plumbing, and so on. I think this is the wrong way to go, and that's why today I'm calling on the legislature to repeal Senate Bill 1419 so the schools have the right to act. Because in this economic crisis, we must allow our schools to enter into the public-private partnerships and obtain construction, maintenance, and transportation services in the lowest possible cost. Because that money that is saved by doing that, which is $500 million a year, can go again back into the classroom to help our children with their education. Sacramento must stop to be the schoolyard bully and tell the local schools what to do. In the areas of government, there are opportunities like this for reform and for changing things around without having to stay with the status quo. All we have to do is just go out and seize those opportunities. I'm proposing to implement electronic reporting in our courts. This would save tens of millions of dollars. And there's a rampant fraud and abuse in our in-home support services. We hear it all the time, the papers we write about it all the time. Let's dig in there and reform this particular area. And let's go and get rid of the fraud, just like we have done in workers' compensation, where we reformed the system, and now we have drops in workers' comp costs by 60 to 70%, and we have saved in the last 5 years the state of California's businesses $50 billion. All of these reforms could save us billions of dollars that we could then use for healthcare, for healthy families, for cow grounds, for keeping state parks open, and so on. I'm also proposing once again to eliminate and to consolidate more than a dozen state departments, boards, and commissions. There's no reason why we should hold on to those redundant boards and commissions when we're in this financial crisis. I will not cut a dollar from education, or cut from healthcare, or from our state parks, or public service, or any of those things, if we don't first cut some of those boards and commissions. All of these proposals have been talked about, of course, for years. I mean, think about it. In 2004, in my State of the State address, I talked about blowing up the boxes and getting rid of some of those boards and commissions. But at that time, of course, because our revenues went up and our economy came back, no one wanted to listen to those things. But now, we again have a crisis. We've run out of excuses, we've run out of time, and I think that the people of California have run out of patience. Now, in July, we should receive the bipartisan recommendation from our Tax Modernization Commission. Now, that's very important, as you know, as I said, it's one of the reasons why we have this financial problem, is because our tax system is outdated. This will be a tremendous opportunity here to make our revenues more reliable. Right now, our tax system reflects Wall Street's economy rather than California's economy. Last year, California's economy has actually increased, even though people always think that our economy went down, but our economy has increased by 0.4%. Normally, the increase is by around 3 to 4%, so we increased by 0.4%, but our revenues have plummeted by more than 20%. We need more stability and less volatility, and that's because we are relying on 1% of Californians to pay 50% of the taxes. And this 1% goes and relies on Wall Street's money and on Wall Street's activities rather than on California's economic activities. I want to work with the legislators to make this become a reality and to make the change in the system. Now, there are other big reforms, of course, that I continue to believe in very strongly, which is the rainy day fund and the spending cap. But this is not something I'm going to talk much about here today, because that needs to go before the voters again. So there is no doubt that the challenges that we face are enormous. This will be testing our will, it will test our resolve, and this will test our leadership. Many of my proposals that I have put forth are despised by the special interests in Sacramento. There's no two ways about that. They want to hold on to the status quo. So the legislators have to find the will in themselves to be able to push back and to do what is right for California, because after all, we have been elected to be the lobbyists for the people of California. Now, of course, we are in difficult times, there's no two ways about that, and that we have never seen anything like this before. But I think that we're going to come out of this. Even though there's tremendous uncertainty, there's one thing that is certain, that California will be back. People ask me all the time if I don't regret having become governor. If I don't regret, if I would have rather just stayed in Terminator and make another $30 million. Let me tell you something, the answer is always very simple, no, I don't regret it at all. Because for me, it is, even though the biggest challenge that I've ever faced in my life, but it is the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. Because I never forget that it was California that has given me all the opportunities to be successful in bodybuilding and in acting and in this particular business, or make millions of dollars and so on. So this is my way of giving something back. I always remember one thing, and that is California is, without any doubt, the greatest place on earth. It's the greatest state in the greatest country in the world, and because of that, I think it is worth fighting for. We have to fight for this state, and in the coming days and in the coming weeks, I will not give up, or I will not give in until the job is done. I can promise you that. So thank you very much for listening.